La belle époque, oh oh. La belle époque, oh oh. La belle époque. La belle époque. Oh there, my beautiful, beautiful friends. Welcome to another video. I am so beyond grateful that you're here joining me for this one. I have recently been sharing very vulnerable moments in some vlogs, and I have been going through a hard time over the last year, and I didn't really realize how hard of a time I was having until something just clicked in my brain a couple days ago, and I realized how much I was shaming and blaming and guilting myself into all of these things, and I just realized how much I was dimming my own light. I had forgotten who I was and what I was doing and what my purpose is, and you know, that's to spread joy and to just experience this thing called life. And yes, I feel my spark coming back, so welcome here. Welcome to Julia revamping herself, and I'm very grateful to bring you along on this journey. This is just some quick meals that I enjoyed during this week that I was feeling quite low. However, I'm sending you so much love if you are going through a difficult time. I know you, I feel you, I am you. Without further ado, let's dive into today's video. Okay, just a little kiss first though. Mwah! Starting off today's video with a spicy tofu bowl. We're gonna use coconut milk and gochujang to make this tofu saucy and delicious, but first things first, we're going to cube it, throw it into a baking dish along with lots of olive oil and salt, give it a little massage, and chuck it into the oven. However, because I like to be efficient with my oven, I decided to put a whole head of garlic in here as well, covering it with salt and olive oil. This has nothing to do with the recipe, but if you're gonna bake things in the oven, might as well be efficient. I also have some butternut squash shoved in the oven as well. But getting into this sauce, a third a can of coconut milk, a big scoop equaling about 2 tablespoons worth of gochujang, and a couple tablespoons worth of lemon juice. I also decided to put a little bit of garlic in here as well, just from the top of that garlic clove. Totally optional. And then you're going to allow it to do its thing with the tofu until it's this consistency. Make sure you keep it on low heat and stir it occasionally, well, quite frequently. And I'm just serving it up with some rice, greens that I'm just smothering in some olive oil, lemon juice, and salt. And because the tofu is so flavorful and bold, you can serve it up with simple things like I'm doing right now, and mwah, delicious. But of course, make your bowl as you desire. The tofu is the star of the show, but add cucumber, carrots, cabbage, whatever. But I hope you enjoy. Getting into recipe number 2, we're gonna make a creamy pasta with tofu. So I'm using extra firm tofu, but that's just because I had it in the house. I would recommend medium or soft tofu. Because I'm using extra firm, I'm using half of a block, but if you're using soft or medium tofu, use an entire block. I also got roasted red peppers, lemon juice, Dijon mustard, and tomato paste in here, along with our spices, a clove of garlic, and then water as needed. Note, however, if you are using medium tofu or soft tofu, you definitely do not need to add water to it. Just if you are using firm or extra firm tofu like I am doing, then we need a little extra help in the blending process. The texture is not really there. I would recommend silken tofu for this. I personally love a good spice, so I'm adding chili oil, and of course, with all of my recipes, salt to taste. If you do not want to add chili oil, however, you can just use normal oil, about 2 tablespoons worth. We need some fattiness in this recipe, so that's why I did that. Once you got your sauce good and going, then cook up some pasta. Make sure your water tastes like the sea. Once it's done, strain it, and then we're gonna mix everything together. I recommend leaving a little bit of the pasta sauce, or pasta water, I should say, in the bottom of the pot, just for the mixing process of the noodles. Makes everything a little bit more saucy and delicious. And there's enough sauce to mix together about 3 large servings of pasta. I topped mine with a little bit of fresh parsley, and then had to get some sunny shots of it. I would recommend adding nutritional yeast to this recipe. I just don't have any in the house, but maybe 2 tablespoons worth would make it so much better. But still delicious either way. If you know me, you know there can't be a weekly eats video without a stir fry. A rice noodle stir fry in specific. I absolutely love rice noodles. They save my soul. It's simple as that. I ribboned some carrot, chopped some onions, made my rice noodles. I'm using pretty thick noodles. Into a pot, I added a good amount of olive oil, my onion, a good splash of soy sauce, and my tofu as well, mixing that frequently to make sure the tofu and the onions don't stick or burn. Added about 2 tablespoons worth of soy sauce in that process, and for the actual sauce, about a 1/4 cup of smooth peanut butter, a good scoop of chili jam, 2 to 3 tablespoons worth, 2 tablespoons worth of soy sauce, and a tablespoon worth of rice vinegar. Add some water to smooth it out if needed, and in goes the ribbon carrot to everything, a couple tablespoons worth of the sauce, just for a little bit of flavor and oomph. And once the carrots have softened, we're going to mix the rest of the sauce in with the rice noodles that have been strained, throw the veggies and tofu in, add extra soy sauce as needed. I added a little extra sriracha to mine, as you can tell, but you know, add your spice as you desire it. A good handful of chopped cilantro, and then served myself up a bowl. And of course, if you have sesame seeds, throw them on top of here, and if you have toasted sesame oil, a good little drizzle would be absolutely delicious as well. I'm very sorry to interrupt this one, but I do have to say a big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. I love them because they have so many tools that make it easy for you to build a beautiful website, whether you want to peruse all of their templates that they have available and pick one like that, or design it with the help of AI. Yes, AI can help you build a website. Whether you are an artist that just wants to showcase their beautiful photography or paintings, drawings, embroidery, whatever you got, or you have online courses, digital products or physical products, you can sell them using Squarespace. They provide all of the payment methods for your customers, so your customers have choices. And there are just so many other features that I cannot mention in this short ad. You can try them out, build your website, test out all of the features at squarespace.com for free. And when you're ready to launch, you can head to squarespace.com/JuliaAyres to get 10% off of your first purchase of a domain or website. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Unlike my other recipes, this one is pretty chill. It's not spicy, it's just lax, and it's delicious. Chopped up 4 to 5 small portobello mushrooms. If you have 2 large ones, that would be perfect, along with 3 very small cooking onions, so 1 large cooking onion would be perfect for this. In a pot on low heat, added the onion and our mushrooms as well, and about a tablespoon or so of olive oil and a good crack of salt. And I'm gonna chop a small green apple. I know this sounds so weird, but it's to replace that wine element I feel like it really needed. If you do have a 1/4 cup or a 1/2 cup of white wine, throw it in there if you do not have green apple, but green apple is so delicious. It adds that sweetness and that like tartness that really rounds this meal off. As you saw, for the protein element, I added red split lentils. It's a great option for a splash of protein in this meal, but nothing that overtakes the orzo. For the creaminess, I added a 1/2 can of full-fat coconut milk, and this recipe does need a decent amount of salt, so do not be afraid to add it. Taste as you go, and right before serving, I squeezed in some lemon juice as well. To top it off, I added some lemon zest and some parsley just to kind of brighten everything up and add a little bit of color. This one is so delicious for meal prep as well, and if you make it a little bit more runny like I have done, then it won't clump up and harden in the fridge. I've taste tested this like 17 million times already, and it's so delicious. A couple notes on this though. Do not be afraid to add salt, number one. Number two, if you want it less runny, add less water. I prefer this texture, like a stew texture, than it to be really thick or dense. That's just my personal preference. You could add maybe a cup less of water, I would say, and you'll get a more thick risotto type of vibe rather than like a risotto mushroom stew. And you know that butternut squash that I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I had in the oven? Yes. So, here it is, me chopping it up. I'm putting it in the oven on the same day that I made the tofu spicy bowl. So I just chopped it in half and I'm gonna add it into my baking dish with a good amount of olive oil and salt. Just do a little rubby rub and chuck it in the oven. Simple, easy. I don't poke it with a fork because I find it kind of lets all of the good juices out, and I want the sweetness of the squash to stay inside of it. So don't poke your squash, don't poke your sweet potatoes with forks. I don't know why people do this or have thought that it's a good idea. It just leaks all of the good juices away, and we want to keep them inside. Slicing some cooking onion, mincing some garlic, and the view that I have is just way too beautiful not to make it a feature in all of my videos. Into a medium-sized pot, added my onion with some olive oil on very low heat, low and slow with these onions for this one. In the meantime, I'm chopping up some tomato, one large one, into decent-sized chunks. And once the onion has a good little brown on it, I added 2 tablespoons worth of tomato paste, the fresh tomatoes, and the garlic, and we're just gonna allow that to do its thing until it's nice and broken down on low heat. Scooped out the flesh of the butternut squash, mix that together, and then we're adding all of our spices. Curry powder, paprika, chili to taste, garam masala, cinnamon, turmeric, black pepper, and of course, always salt to taste. We're gonna turn up the heat slightly, allow those spices to get really aromatic for about a minute or two, and then add our water, lentils, mixing that all together, and very optional, some fenugreek as well. And I personally felt like it needed a couple tablespoons worth of sugar. It just really helps balance out the spices and round out the acidity of the tomato. Threw a lid on top of it on low-medium heat, gave it a little taste test every so often, and cooked it until the lentils were done. This recipe was a meal prep one for the week, so several days later, I eventually got some video of me serving myself up a bowl with some rice. I threw some lentil sprouts on top of it, some homemade sauerkraut, jalapenos, and some roasted red peppers as well. Totally optional, but just felt like adding a little extra something on top of mine. And that's the end of this week's Weekly Eats video. Thank you for joining along. I truly appreciate you. I love you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you again. If you enjoy any of these meals, let me know down in the comments. All of the ways to support me are also in the description box as well. See you again soon.